What's going on, everybody? I am Javon.
Hey, I'm Kevin.
And we are going to do something new. Kev, there is a movie on Netflix right now. It's under the title of Nollywood, which is almost like Bollywood, with Bollywood being the Indian movies that are put through Hollywood and then shown for American audiences. This is a Nigerian property that is given to us and that Netflix has purchased along with a lot of other titles that I've seen recently. But this one that I'm going to focus on and that I'd like you to see, if you have an opportunity, is called Couple of Days. What it's about in a nutshell is three couples, three couples, six friends that are all coming together for a weekend to hang out and have a good time. And in doing so, there's going to be some secrets that are revealed. There are going to be some moments of reflection, and there are going to be some opportunities for growth for everyone involved. It was really something like I've never seen, as far as I watched in the past a lot of movies where you've had couples come together and hang out or have a discussion and go partake in some event. But this was one that stayed with you because of the weight of the decisions that were made, the moments of reflection, and the secrets that were placed on everybody's minds and were shared by all. And it's definitely one of those ones that you'll be able to take away and maybe teach you a little something about your own relationship or about love in general, or how sometimes people have to deal with the cards that they've been dealt. So if you can, take a second, check it out. Audience, do the same thing. This is on Netflix. Once again, it's called Couple of Days. It's a Nollywood film from Nigeria. It might be best if you want to add the subtitles to your screen because they are speaking English, but it may help you through some of the moments. But if you will, take a moment. We're going to take a little pause. Kev, you go and check that out. And when we come back, we are going to dissect Couple of Days on Netflix.
All right.
As I stated before, Couple of Days is a wonderful exercise in romance, relationships, infidelity, and everything that it takes to remain with the one that you love and the one you share your life with. Kev, starting off, how did you feel about the movie?
I had a very strong theme of forgiveness. When we saw the two couples, I saw it with my wife, and we saw the two couples that obviously came in first scene. They got the issues, capital I issues. And there was the other couple that seemed to be, in perfect wedded bliss. So, you know, me being suspicious, I'm thinking, oh, what they got going on. Or what I was really thinking was something's going to happen to them that's going to be like, oh no, now they all got the same issue. So it didn't really turn out like that. They had issues too, but that was to be revealed because I could tell it was a drama. It's kind of a little bit like a soap opera. So I was like, there's got to be issues, because if there is no issue at all, if there is nothing dramatic, it's boring. So there's got to be something going on. It turned out there was, but the forgiveness theme, ran all the way through it. So that was very strongly presented. I really, really liked the acting.
Yes.
No weaknesses there at all. The camera work kind of had some moments where I was like, why are we going there? But
why are we deciding to do this now?
A few times the camera was doing some motion that I wasn't really ready for. Okay. So that I noticed, especially with there were a couple moments like they were inside and when they were having those long conversations. I think between Jokay and her friend, where they shared that kiss, there was some revolving around the room that the camera did.
Yes.
And I'm like, whoa, where are we going?
I thought that you would say that.
that caught my eye for a second. I mean, I guess they were doing what they could to liven the scene up, and that was a choice that was made. Okay,
right.
It threw me a little bit.
I thought that they were trying to have it like since it was supposed to be something done in secret, the camera was supposed to be hiding, which was
okay, that's okay.
It sounds better than it was executed.
That'd be great if that's where they were going, because there were these points of view that made it look like somebody was peeking in on them, which
even though you knew it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. There was no one else in the movie, basically, except for them 6 and the 2 extra ones.
Right.
Okay, that I can see that. That because there were secrets. So that would make sense. I hope that's what they meant. But yeah, that presentation was a little funny. There were a couple moments where the sound did not seem to be balanced, especially towards the end when everybody was crying, and screaming, and it's like it's all it's a lot of that, which I can't. But I mean, I can tell what's happening, but that kind of threw me out of it a little bit because it wasn't balanced or whatever. There were some lighting things where the light was like really, really bright on the inside. It looked like almost like a beam of light, which I don't know if that was intended or not. And I guess that was something else that could have been balanced out. There were a couple of characters, especially the I guess the jokester, who we had a conversation when we were talking about Get Out. How Lil Rel's character kind of stopped the movie every time he came in. And
yes, you're talking about Odewale.
Odewale, yeah. I mean,
yes,
Odewale came in. I'm like, all right, where are we going with this? Because it seemed like the movie stopped.
Yes.
So, and he didn't seem to have really any connection like at all with what was going on, except for he knew the young lady who he was creeping on. Julia.
Judy. I think they call it could have been Julie, but I think they call her Judy too.
Judith. I mean, so he was creeping on Judith. Okay, and we know that Judith had some history,
right?
So I know why she was in the movie. I don't know why he was in the movie, except just to creep on her.
And
I felt like
just
the
to provide
movie ground to
humor.
a halt. If, in my opinion, the movie ground to a halt every time he was on. So I don't know what he was doing there. Maybe that's a character that just happens, and this was my first Nollywood film. Maybe that's a thing that happens, and I just wasn't used to it.
It doesn't, which is the weird thing about it. It was just maybe and it could have been someone that they knew that they just wanted to give a shout to. It could have been someone who's actually a comedian, in Nigeria. But it's like when the humor doesn't hit, it's not going to hit for the remainder. And the only time that I laughed at him was when he was peeking in on Judy, supposedly taking a shower, and she took water and flung it in his face through the window. And he fell on the ground and started writhing around and talking about he couldn't see it. And she ran outside and had a stick with her and proceeded to, she was supposed to be beating him and teaching him a lesson, but she was like mushing him and just touching him with the stick, to which that wasn't supposed, it was supposed to be funny, but that like part of her doing that wasn't supposed to be funny. And I laughed at that part.
Yeah, I was looking for more impact when she had the double paddles. I'm like, oh, she's gonna go to town,
right?
And she dropped one of them, and I'm like, so
and then she's like moving him around almost like you do, like in a saucepan when you're cooking something, and you take the spatula, you just kind of move the food to keep the heat just distributed. I'm like, what is she doing?
There were some other moments where I think there was something intended, but it didn't. The execution kind of didn't match. Like towards the end, when stuff started getting real, and I think Cynthia was gonna stab somebody. It was 2 moments with Cynthia because there were 2. She had 2 stabbing things where she tried to stab her husband with a fork. Yeah, and it looked like she was trying not to hurt him. Which, so that's I don't know who controls how do you use your props and make sure that your actors are safe? But that's what kind of looked like to me. Like she was trying not to really hurt the guy. And the same thing happened in that flashback when she went stabbing when he had cheated on her, and she went stabbing everybody. That again looked like she was trying not to hurt the people in real life. So that kind of took the impact out of what was supposed to be happening, because that's a really because I saw her grab something. I was like, oh, she got a knife. Right. But then her actions didn't match the intensity that had just happened, and I'm like,
like, wait a minute, she's pulling back.
Yeah, she was pulling back. And I'm like, maybe that was just a prop issue, you know, they had to, that's something that I guess the production team or whatever, whoever controls
Right.
how the scene looks, makes it look a certain way, and then also makes sure the actors are safe. So, but again, that's something that caught me because the execution didn't match the intensity that just preceded it.
And
so
you wanted it to, you know?
I wanted it to.
That was a big scene.
Because I'm like, somebody gonna get cut.
Right.
That's what I was
and
expecting.
And instead it's like...
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna cut you, which, or something. So,
right.
So there were a couple of moments that like didn't match for me. But like I said, the themes were very strong. The acting was solid.
Very.
The music was appropriate.
Yes.
Came in just at the right times.
Right. And some of it was rocking too.
Yeah. I did want to check out the soundtrack for some of them because it was some nice tunes that were used appropriately.
Definitely.
So
what did you think about the different dynamics of the three couples? Because you had the ones, like we said, with Cynthia and Jude, where he had cheated 3 years ago, which was shown in the beginning of the movie. And everything was unraveling slowly but surely from that point. You found out later that Cynthia actually became manic and began having bipolar episodes, which carried her throughout the rest of her time in the story. But then you have Lanray and Jokay, where Lanray is having difficulty in the bedroom because he's got a secret. Partially, the part of it was I thought that he had a secret that he had to tell his friends, which was funny because he never told them, if you remember.
Right.
Which was that they had given him money to invest, and Jokay, his wife, had been so off the wall with spending and buying hair and buying nails and getting pedicures and manicures, you name everything else, to the extreme that she had basically put him almost in the poorhouse.
Right.
And she had taken their investment somehow and had, wasted those as well. Right. So he had to come back to the house with that on his shoulders about, how do I tell my friends that all the money that they gave me that I'm supposed to be investing is gone?
I thought it was interesting.
Go ahead.
They threw a lot of issues out in this movie.
Yes.
So on one hand, I appreciate that every couple wasn't the same.
True. Yes.
On the other hand, it's like, what's a lot going on in this movie. I think that some of the things could have been cut, like the whole financial thing. In that, it ultimately didn't go anywhere with that. I thought there was a lot of time spent on the financial, and yes, that was a part of why that couple was having difficulty. But ultimately, it kind of it didn't go anywhere. And then that couple's biggest issue, that she had 8 abortions, that came out like, oh, surprise! Here's a real issue.
Yeah.
And then we have to drop that because there's the whole kiss thing. And by then everybody's high drama and everybody tripping out and freaking out and crying. And then we got flashbacks. So I feel that whole finance thing was brushed aside when it could have been cut altogether, because the film didn't really do anything with it for all the setup, because they spent a long time arguing in the beginning of the movie about the finance thing. And it did get brought up in the middle, kind of. But then the real issue kind of overtook all that, and it's like, well, never mind. So I think that was a little bit of time wasted. Energy spent that, I don't know, could have been maybe spent somewhere else. They had a lot of issues going on, which I appreciated for the diversity of issues.
Yes.
It's the careful management of those issues with your screen time, and does all this play into an effective telling of the story?
Yes.
I don't know what I would say would need to be cut besides it, but I mean, there was the part in the middle where they were just having fun, which was good because it was a lot of Henry John right before it. So it was nice for me as a viewer to relax at the same time that they were relaxing and seemed to be genuinely enjoying themselves and not fussing and fighting at each other. That was a fun little thing in the middle where nothing happened.
Right. And it was fun. It was funny too, because I've had several times that me and my wife have gone out and hung out with another couple. But for them, they went and it started out at a park. Then it went to almost like the water slide portion of the park, the water theme or whatever it was. Then they went from there and went bowling. Then they went from there and went to the movies. Then they went home and started watching movies. And it's like, we've had times that we've done double dating and all, but you got to set your schedule for something like this.
So it's almost like going on vacation with them, which that's an experience.
That's true.
And especially now, I mean, maybe this wasn't planned because I don't remember when this movie was made, but I mean, now anybody vacation in no way. So I mean, it was good to kind of get out the house without being out the house.
True.
So that was nice.
Yeah,
so
like vicariously.
That's why I appreciated the fun break.
Yes,
it's fun to watch the couples having fun.
Right. One little note also was there was a moment right after they left the water slide where Dan and Nina, which is the couple that we haven't mentioned yet, they were the newlyweds of the bunch. Right. And my wife and myself are like 2 years into our marriage, and Kevin, you're newlyweds as well. And so it was good to see that reflection as well. So it was a couple that was further on in their marriage. It was a couple that was kind of in between it, and there was a couple that was new to it. And right after that water slide, Dan and Nina, the newlyweds, were paired off to the side, and they were laughing and joking and everything. And a group of 5 or 6 women walked behind them, just walking from one scene to the other. How you kind of have maybe extras in your movie or whatever, but they made it like, they were just walking in the park, just a group of women. I like the way that Dan didn't even give them a moment's glance because he was so wrapped up in Nina. Whereas if that would have been Jude, the one who, had been unfaithful, he probably would have been turning his head and looking all over and trying to steal any glance that he could. And I even noticed that one of the women that was walking past the two of them kind of gave them a look like, almost that, like, not necessarily like they were jealous, but it was just a smile that the lady gave, like she understood that thing that she was seeing in front of them about the two of them being so into each other. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was it was a small moment, and it was a brief moment, but I pulled from that for him to have those blinders on was really something that was individual to him. And although I feel like Lon Ray, the guy who was having the issue with the finances, may have acted the same way, we both know that Jude would have taken that opportunity probably to, sneak out or do whatever he would have to do. Right. It was weird on a side note also how Jude's character was supposed to be nonchalant about the whole marriage. So he's spending so much time in his phone, but it was almost like it was a bit unreal because it was like his phone was an extension of his arm to the point that every time you look, if it beeped, if it rang, if whatever, he's picking it up, knowing that his wife is saying, stop talking to the person on the other end who was actually his assistant at his job, a female assistant. Right. From what they said, a young female assistant that was beginning to try to take up as much time as she could. Although, at least to my understanding, nothing ever came with the two of them. Okay. But it was just because by then Cynthia had been so exposed to him and that side of him that any woman that would have been trying to get any of his time would have been looked at as there was something more going on. So I totally understood that. Right. How do you feel about the reveal at the end with Nina and Dan, where when everything is spiraling out of control and then having to be brought back together, Dan is kind of sitting back looking like, well, I'm glad that we don't have that stuff going on. And Nina brings up the fact that just before they got married, Dan had a child outside of the relationship. Right. And she decided to forgive him and to stay with him. How did you feel about that? I thought that was a powerful moment.
It kind of came out of nowhere, but I mean, it did have maximum impact. I think I think I mentioned before, I was waiting for something like that to happen because I felt like ain't no way we're gonna have these couples and there's not gonna be drama all around. So I was waiting for some drama to happen. I thought drama was going to happen to them, but no, this was just drama that had already happened before, and Dan wasn't really being honest about it. And Nina had processed it, dealt with it, and forgiven him. Yes, coming back to that theme of forgiveness. So
Mm-hmm.
so tonally, I think it definitely matched with what everything that was going on, that they were it was a strong message that, you know, the forgiveness is what's going to help the relationship go through the tough times.
Right. Yes. And it
And
seemed
again,
like
I appreciated again how every couple and every person was different.
yes.
Like I said, there's a lot going on in this movie, like a
Yeah.
lot. But
Yeah.
I thought all the issues were real. I thought they were presented real. Nothing was like cartoonish or ridiculous. I don't think so. Not the issues that everyone was going through, and that there were all 6 different people. I really did appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way about everything. And right on cue, after Nina wound up saying that to Dan, and they wound up having their moment, Jokay got up, the one who was spending all the money from her husband, and just walked over to him quietly and gave him a hug. And just like that, that began to mend.
Right.
And then Jude walked over to Cynthia and hugged her. But for some reason, I felt that theirs may have been the furthest to be repaired.
Right.
And I was correct, and I'm sure that you were too, because sure enough, the next frame, the next scene where you're thinking, you know, they're laying together and they're, you know, trying to make everything work, she actually gets up out of the bed and walks over to their desk and writes a note, basically a goodbye note to Jude.
Right.
And then as he stays asleep, she takes and puts the note on him and puts on her clothes, and she leaves.
Right.
I thought that it was a bit extra that it would be a car accident. But I think it had to provide the profound message of not giving the last moment to put your apologies on the line, or to value what you have in front of you. In the case of Jude, had he only really kept the promise that he had given to her after the 3 years where he had, you know, that mistake, and then of course making the mistake of kissing Jokay, which was crazy, and it seemed like they just added to show that he was an unfaithful person. He actually had a chance of saving her life. She didn't have to go out in that car. She didn't have to have that accident.
Right.
And so the way that they showed up at the funeral, I mean, not at the funeral, but at the gravesite, you know, a year later after she had, you know, been killed in the car accident, and you saw that he was there by himself, and you saw the way that he was so remorseful, I'm sure that that would eat on a person in that position for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And the very last frame was, after everyone walks away, all the couples, and Jude walks off too, the camera pans over across the gravesite and across the cemetery, and you're like, what is it doing? Maybe it's doing something funny again with the director trying to catch a bird or whatever he might have been following. And no, he stops at a tree in which a woman who had to be Cynthia, her hair is, you know, tied up the same way that it was in the movie, is peeking around the tree, watching Jude walk back to his car. And so I'm thinking, unless, you know, maybe someone else, if they've seen it or if they watch it after this, let us know if that wasn't the case. But it seemed to be that was supposed to be her ghost, which now I'm trying to figure, and I'm wondering, you know, your thoughts on what would that lasting impression be, besides maybe putting the dagger into the effectiveness of the whole observation of betrayal and infidelity, and just a lasting reminder of how it can affect someone. I guess they're saying even through the grave, or even I don't know.
I think towards the end, when everything started coming out, that the film just kept escalating and escalating and escalating.
Yeah.
And I mean, so then where else do you go when when everything is out? Everybody's crying or screaming, or crying and screaming, and all this mess came out. The money, the 8 abortions, all of that stuff. I mean, where else do you go but someone's dying?
Yeah.
And right. since you know the fork stabbing didn't happen. Where else is there to go? But like I said, I think some of the movie could have been a little more restrained, a little more subtle by that point, and still brought the multiple messages home. So, but like I said, it was, yeah, it just kept going up and up and up, and it's like, what is left now after she's left? What is left emotionally? Then I guess for something else terrible to happen to her. I would have think that her leaving would be enough.
Yeah.
In light of what has already come before, but I guess that's not what the filmmakers had in mind.
True. And in truth, you know, as some women sad to say that even right this second are going through something the same or something, you know, 10 times worse than what Cynthia had to deal with. And so for them, a movie like this, I'm sure cries out to everything that is going on in their minds and in their relationship, and tries to show them that sometimes you can be on the side where you can say, I will forgive you for the bettering of what we still have and I still want to fight for it. Or in Cynthia's case, where you have to take a stand and say, enough is enough.
Right.
And so in that regard, I appreciate them giving more than one avenue for not just women, but for people who may be trapped in any one of these three couples' positions. Love is universal. And whether it's Nigeria, whether it's the United States, whether it's any other country, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of anything else, there are these invisible rules that are defined, and you have a chance of adhering to them or running afoul to them. And in either regard, that's what you're dealing, and the person on the other end has to receive those cards. And so I like the way overall that they handle the whole idea of love and everything that it can encompass. I feel based upon the acting, which as we said was good, the direction, which had its moments, and I would say that if I had to put a fifth ingredient, it would maybe be that whole thing about you taking a look at how Nigerians, you know, are so close to everything that we deal with. I think that I would still give this I think that I would give this a low. We liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it would be a high. We saw that. Mm. What do you think?
Yeah, I would give it something like a high. We saw that. I think the execution didn't always match up to maybe the intent or the message that was in there. The message was strong. Like I said, acting was good, music was good. Some of the execution was a little iffy, and I think it didn't always match up to what was going on tonally. So for me, I would say that I like a high. I saw it just a shave under liking it.
Gotcha. Ladies and gentlemen, what did you think about Couple of Days? Was it something that you either have gone through, or someone that you may know, or something that you've been blessed to never have to experience? Either way, let us know in the comments, and let us know what you thought about it and what you would rate it. Until then, I'm Javon.
I'm Kevin.
And we saw that.
All right.